I'm guilty of this. I am sedentary. I wish I wasn't sedentary, but a lot of my day is sedentary. So I right, how sedentary are we? I know this was taken a couple years ago, but on average, right, for sleeping about 8-ish hours a day, we sit at work about 7.5 hours a day. We then watch TV, right, which tends to be on a couch or sitting down. We tend to do a lot of leisure time on our phone, which is also sitting down, or on a computer. Eating, right, we usually sit down, and there's not a lot of moving going on. And I get it. Like there's a lot of, I mean, personally, when I go home, right, I'm tired and I physically and mentally, and I don't necessarily want to motivate to do things outside, or it's cold, or it's not a safe environment. There's a lot of things, right, that can impact our outsideness. And so I think it's interesting that, there's this idea that sitting is the new smoking in terms of health. And so and it's not to say that they are, equal. They are apples and oranges in terms of the physiological effects, but to the same extent, it's also the more sedentary we are, and a lot of behaviors that come along with the sedentary action, including maybe not watching what we're eating, the lack of physical activity. Those also can actually increase our risk for some of those vascular risk factors like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, um, and all of those things. And it can also, with that, the more the sedentariness of it, it can also actually increase risk for different types of cancers too. So in terms of like on the long run, right, the more we can kind of help instill healthy habits early on for kiddos, where it's just kind of like this is just part of life, right? The easier it is to kind of help them set them up to perpetuate it long term. One of the things that's super duper helpful is, or I guess not, it can be helpful, is when you have a friend group or you have peers who are also prioritizing the same kind of healthy lifestyle behaviors. I know there's a lot of there is culture around food. It's a big deal. Food is a big deal. And so there's a lot of right kind of culture and holiday stuff around sitting and eating. And that's okay. And at the same time, just kind of thinking about, right, like I think the challenge as we approach the holiday season to kind of think about like, like, well, the sitting and eating is definitely part of my family tradition. But then also like, well, what's the other piece of it, right? Like, are there ways that we could do a family walk together? Are there ways that we could, do something physically active together as a family, within reason that take everyone's differing physical abilities into consideration? Um, so just want to put this out there as a little infographic to kind of think about that. Yep, there's a lot of being sedentary, our own jobs, right, can kind of not be so great for our health. But there's just, how you are, and yes, Julie, I can definitely, we can make sure we share this infographic. But, suggestions of like, yep, using standing desks, right, getting up. Even if you got up once every hour for about like 5 minutes, that's still going to be helpful, more helpful compared to sitting for the entire 8 hours in a day. It's cool. And there's a study or people with Alzheimer's dementia, and they looked at just if you just stand, don't even have to walk around, but just every hour if you stood up and then sat back down, that they tended to have more, um, like they tended to do better in terms of mobility and thinking and those kind of things versus someone who just didn't incorporate that healthy, just sit to stand behavior. Another thing that I personally try to do because I'm very sedentary, that I tend to, when I'm going to the grocery store, thinking about can I park one extra aisle away, or can I park in the back more section of the parking lot so I have a farther walk outside?